In game design, when you're iterating on something that's existed before, it needs to be either more fun, more interesting, or more rewarding. And today we're talking about, well, the second part of the season 2 of CZN. And I just honestly can't really wrap my head around this in comparison to what we got for the second part of season 1 when it comes to the different bosses that you can get inside of Chaos. Now, the first thing we want to talk about here is the new thing they added to the Burning Life Season 2. A lot of you guys may have fallen victim to this already, and we're talking about the secret Coliseum boss that you can encounter inside of the run. And I'm calling back and making this present as part of the focal point of the conversation today because, well, when they added extra bosses in Season 1, well, there was at least a benefit to doing them in multiple ways because they came at the end of the run. And because they came at the end of the run, there wasn't a lot of, well, risk when it comes to actually fighting them and testing your might against the new content that they added inside of the game. That's not true for Season 2 at all for a lot of players out there. The risk for fighting the extra boss for Season 2 is astronomically higher because it's taking place during the middle of the run, which would ask you and demand a question to be answered of what is the reward then? If the risk is so much higher, the reward's got to be a lot better too, right? What do you get for beating this giant hands monster that just will double down and possibly destroy your run out there? Well, the answer is you get a unique piece of gear that honestly is pretty freaking terrible, as it only gives you the reward, the card, fully unlocked if you also are in a team composition, full save data for things that can generate the other pieces of arena cards, use them all in the same turn, and then you can finally unlock Excalibur and do damage with it one time before it exhausts itself. And then on top of that, you also benevolently get 100 credits for your trouble. If you compare this to the extra bosses we got for Season 1 that took place at the end of the run, the risk for trying to fight them went, well, to zero, because on top of them being just bosses and maybe not as difficult as the one in Season 2, being at the end mean that, well, you could just leave the run whenever you saw fit. You already had completed your run. You already did the 2 proper bosses. You already duplicated your cards. You already ran through your full Chaos run, and you could try to get some bonuses at the end. Well, what are those bonuses? Well, the bonuses for the Season 1 bosses as the season was ending when we had 2 extra bosses, well, you could get extra chances at rare loot drops if you wanted to min-max your build, potentially a little bit more than before. That increased the save data power that you had just a little bit more than before at the cost of no risk. And then on top of that, after they updated it a second time, you actually had a extra campsite to remove cards or upgrade different things or take a break before you fought any of the extra bosses. So if you take a look at Season 1, well, there's low to no risk in multiple rewards. The bosses weren't that difficult. They gave you 1 to 2 shots at legendary level gear, and you also got the access to the shop one more additional time before the run was fully completed. And if you compare that to the Season 2 boss that we have access to right now, the risk is way higher. The boss is more difficult, and then it also takes place during the middle of your run. So if you're potentially on a good run, you got the divine that you finally wanted, you got the cards removed, your deck's looking good. If you just choose to go and fight him, which you don't have to, if you choose to fight him though, then guess what? You potentially run the risk of ending your run right there. And what's the reward? Well, guess what? On top of that, the reward's not that good. The reward is actually pretty terrible, and it's very funny that I honestly think that they put it in there just out of boredom, and they even added it as an achievement to the Plague Lord, where you use 9 distortion stacks or more and hit it with the Judgment card, which is pretty interesting out there, that you want to go all through that hassle just to get this achievement done so you can get a sticker. That's not really making me engaged with the content. If I'm comparing 1 versus 2 when it came to the second part of the season, 1 gave me more entertainment, make slightly better save data, right? Mitigated a little bit of RNG, had better opportunities for armor and gear and removing cards. None of that's in season 2. In season 2, we got a Gacha monster who can take you out. I've only fought him once, beat him the one time, saw the reward, said never again, and went to Reddit to see what everyone else thought about it. And there was just a bunch of posts of, I can't beat this guy, I died, my run's over. And on top of all of that, the way you actually fight the boss when it pops up to give you the option is also a little bit of a debate, because for whatever reason, they swapped the position of where you fight the new monster on the screen with where you would just go in to do the normal gladiator battle. Normally it's in the middle to do the gladiator battle. After the update, the middle one is actually on the second time. Fight the secret boss. Hope you like it. I'm not sure why they put that in there. I'm not the biggest fan of season 2 so far. I feel like not a whole lot really got added. Obviously, some of the story is updated. They added the nebula distortion to go do some cool stuff. The rest of what we got for the second part of season 1 inside of season 2 is there as well, right? They added the Great Rift. We got the nebula distortion third boss. That's fine. That's dandy. But a lot of players are playing the game for the roguelike experience and not really updating anything to the actual chaos mode inside of the game called Chaos Zero Nightmare, which is a roguelike deck builder game. Not adding anything beneficial at all in the second season, I think, is kind of a blunder in a lot of ways out there. And then another thing I'm just going to say about the season system in CZN on a whole is I am a little bit let down that they are basically just rehashes so far of pre-existing zones inside of CZN. I kind of overlooked the first season being City of Mist. It was a new game, blah, 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 blah. I'd done almost just City of Mist since launch. And when the season came out and it was basically City of Mist again, I was a little miffed by it, but didn't say anything about it. And this season being, well, basically the Swamp of Judgment 2.0 with the same bosses, same exact sort of mechanics, all this other stuff is fine. It's cool, but it's not really new content. And I was having fun with the second season with the spore mechanics and stuff. And then you guys nerfed all that too for like no real reason, even though it's seasonal stuff and will rotate out after the season ends. So I'm not really sure on that one either. So when it comes to feedback on the season, listen, man, if you're going to be putting some secret bosses and stuff like that in there, I understand you're experimenting. It's cool, but like give some value to it as well. Basically, I feel like the update to the chaos portion of the second part of the season is largely irrelevant. The reward is minimum at the most. It's a tiny reward. You're only kind of fighting that boss if you're going after that achievement and you're just basically bored. That's way too much investment for something that, like, or at the end of the day, doesn't matter to anybody, like, at all, for the most part. It's not enhancing my runs. I would rather have had the bonus bosses in the same exact way that we had in season 1, even though it wasn't new at all. I'm not sure why we couldn't get a bonus boss and two bonus bosses in season 2 that allowed you to reroll your God's Hammer, or allowed you to God's Hammer a second time, or, you know, there's a lot of different things out there that people could be using these bonus bosses for, instead of this joke equipment that doesn't really benefit anybody unless they're trying to get that achievement that you put in the game, which is forcefully making people interact with your content instead of just making the content fun and interactive on its own merits. You let me know what you think about it down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.